Welcome once again, viewing several. So, to another episode of my little series I like to call Hands Up, Who Loves a Train Set? Me. So, I'm going to take a look at a Playcraft set today. Now, these were sets that were introduced in 1961 in time for Christmas. What it was the company Metoy, and they basically got the French company Jouf to make these sets, and then they were able to sell them cheaply in places like Woolworths. And I think the cheapest set they offered, which is probably one of these ones, was just £1 in old money. And the equivalent, like the Hornby and the Trying sets were a bit more expensive than that. So that it was enough to sufficiently worry both Meccano, who at the time made the Hornby stuff, and Tryang, that they then introduced some cheaper sets of their own. So I think Hornby's one was called Ready to Run, and Tryang produced a set called Miniville, and they were also sold in sweet shops and places like that. So it was a slightly different market that they were after, but it was an important one because these younger children, or just people starting out, would maybe go on to buy a more expensive set later on. But I guess they were worried that they would kind of capture the market, so they never really, I don't think Playcraft really, they were kind of sort of headed off, and then in 1964 you had the whole merger with Hornby being bought out by Tryang and to become Trying Hornby, and then Playcraft sort of carried on. I think there were some sets that were Jouf branded. I've got a Jouf set that I'm going to review next. It's significantly higher quality, but it is the same track, and the particular track in this set and the other one seems to have lost its shape, in that it's very difficult to connect it in a circle and for it to work properly, and there's a lot of derailments. So this one is far worse. In the Jouf set, the track is in a moulded thing that's roughly the radius of the track, so maybe that's why it hasn't straightened up so much, whereas I couldn't get this track into a full circle. But the Jouf one I did, but it still didn't run very well. So I think for both of these sets I'm going to use my loop of Pico track to actually show the trains running. Anyway, what else to say before we look inside? Yeah, I mean, it says 00/HO on it, and that's because a lot of the stock was more HO scale because it was made by the French company, and I think maybe they did one or two pieces that were a bit bigger, but I think most of it was HO. Most of it is not UK outline, most of it is like continental style, but there are some kind of wagons that look roughly UK outline. You can see that this one is called Broad Street. Now, each of the sets that Playcraft released had a name of a station, and I think at the time Broad Street, which used to be next to Liverpool Street, and it was knocked down in the late 80s. This is a good set, so at that particular time the passenger services were probably not running as much as they used to, and I think it was mainly goods. So there are other sets with different station names, and depending on what the station primarily did, they'll be either a passenger or a goods set. So this one's a good set. So let's have a look inside the box. Right, the track. It says on it, I don't know if you can see this, but it's made by Jouf. It is number 470, made in France, Jouf for Playcraft. So even the set that I've got that's a youth set, it's got the Playcraft logo on the box, and it's also got this exact track in it. Now in this particular set, this track seems to have straightened out a bit, and I could not get this in a circle, even though it is only an 8-piece circle. It's the same track in the other set, and that did go round in a circle, but it didn't run well. It was bending over and there was a lot of derailment, so I'm going to test this with the Pico track. So the loco, very much similar to Hornby's Continental 040 tank engine. I haven't done much servicing on it yet, but I think it did run okay. So when I run it, we'll see what it's like. So you notice it's got these. There's no coupling hooks on there, and the couplings are similar to trying, but they appear to be the actual I don't know what you call that. That bit is moulded, and then you've got the hook. So these are, that's a bit dirty. Look. These are very, very simple, but you do get opening and closing doors. So for a toy train, there's some play value there. Very, very simple plastic models. It says made in France, Juve for Playcraft. You see the brake van. It's got very low detail again, very cheap. The coupling hooks are separate, and so are they, and it's just kind of 2 or 3 pieces. There's no rails on the end there. That's very small. Looks definitely looks HO roughly. And then this one, again, it's got metal axles. The others got metal axles. Yeah, they've got metal axles but plastic wheels. Again, the couplers are built in, and just the hook is a separate piece. But this one's got an inserted coal load. I don't know whether that's gone that colour over time or if it was that colour originally. So this is your basic set. Would have been the cheapest, probably the cheapest train set you could buy in 1961. So I do wonder how many people got these for Christmas that year, because they were considerably cheaper than the other manufacturers. Now, I haven't seen many of these, even in this condition is not brilliant, but even in this condition, I do wonder it's just because you know, the more expensive sets would have been looked after better, and these would have made out of much cheaper material. They probably had a harder life. They're not going to be as hard wearing as the Hornby stuff, which is really solidly made, but would cost you quite a bit more. I'm just going to take that out of there because it's, so yeah, I don't know whether that's the reason there's not many of these sets in the box intact. But yeah, we'll get the train on the tracks anyway and just see it running round on the Pico track. Right, we're on the track, and what I've done is I've got the train over there and I've got the loco here. So I'm just going to reverse up and pick up the train. So I've just put a bit of oil on here, and you can see this is running. It's for a 64-year-old locomotive, which is at the very low end of the market. I think that's pretty damn good. I'm using a Gauge Master Combi 12-volt DC controller, and that loco is running better than some of the more expensive older locos that I've had. All I've done is given it a little bit of oil. Right, we've picked up the train, let's head off. So it's not got any problems there, that's pulling at that lovely low speed. So I very much like be able to run at low speed as well as higher speeds. And this is a toy train set after all, so it would be remiss of us not to juice it up and see how fast it can go. So I'll gradually increase the juice. This loco here, that was running a bit weird, and it turns out the back-to-back was a bit out and a bit too wide, and the wheels just simply slide easily on the axle. So I just put it on the back-to-back gauge and squeezed it in, and it's running fine now. Right, let's give it. Right, that's your full tilt now. It's quite a nice noise for a little toy train. But I mean, look at that. That is, considering this is 64 years old and it's a very cheaply made set, the way this runs is phenomenally good. I mean, that's going much lower and slower than any other loco, even from the 80s, even post-service. I haven't remagged it, I haven't done anything other than a little bit of oil. Look at that. Let's see if we can go any slower than that. Wow, that's an absolute crawl with 4 wagons round radius 1 curves. You can't not be impressed by that. Let's just give it a bit more. So I like a speed kind of like anything between that and a bit faster, really. I'm actually surprised at how well this runs. I wonder if the Jouf set's going to run as well as this. Obviously this track is excellent and I've got a Gauge Master controller, but you know, all things being equal, I've tried all the trains that get tested against this standard, and this is running as well as any of the best of them, I have to say. That is fantastic. Well, there we are. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.